malfunctioning. Gary, what did you do? Okay. Call to order. Pledge allegiance. Can we stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Weigel. Here. Barga.
Here.
Littleton. Here. Crowder.
Here.
Kamara.
In front of you are the minutes. I believe there was more than one set. So again, any changes or corrections to the minutes that's presented. I don't hear anything. All in favor to accept the minutes as presented, raise your right hand. I should do that. Okay. I take a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Second. Have a first by Dan and second by Ted. Okay. Don't hear any objections. So I'll call for the vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried.
Abstain.
Okay, one abstain. Okay, our guest tonight is John Goff. He's going to update us on the MS4 for 2022.
Yes.
Okay. And John, if you just give a little brief synopsis of your job description and how we partner with you guys in the city.
Okay. My name's John Goetz. I work for the Whitley County Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm their contracted employee and have a technical background in civil engineering with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Purdue. And the Soil and Water Conservation District has a contract with Columbia City to help with the municipal separate storm sewer program. And MS4 is a program that IDEM requires the city to participate in. And so the idea is to prevent and reduce stormwater pollution. And so you should have received the annual report for 2022. And I'm just going to highlight a few of the regulatory things. So IDEM, after a long time, issued finally a new general MS4 permit, and that took effect in December of 2021. And the city submitted a notice of intent to obtain coverage by the new permit on May 25th of 2022. And so we're officially under the new permit. This report is following the old format, and IDEM said to go ahead and do that. They haven't caught up with all their new forms yet. So next year's report would follow a slightly different format. Most of the things that are in here are going to carry forward to the new permit, but they kind of changed the order of some things and did some stuff. One of the things that we have to do is a water quality characterization report. The original water quality characterization report was submitted in 2004, and it's never been updated. And so IDEM wants the city to update, at least review it, but update it potentially every year going forward. And so we're supposed to submit that at the same time as we submit an annual report to IDEM. On the old permit, they did annual reporting every 2 years. I'm not quite sure how that worked, but they required us to submit a report to IDEM every 2 years. Now with the new permit, we're going to have to submit a report to them every year. And so, again, they haven't got the form for the new permit yet, so this year's annual report, we had to submit on the old form. And so we're going to have to submit the annual report and the water quality characterization report April 1st of 2023. The city also has a stormwater quality management plan, and we had to update that. The original due date was January 23rd of 2023. We asked for an extension, and they granted that. I was at a regional meeting today, and some of the other MS4s, Elkhart, asked for an extension. So I think a number of other communities asked for an extension on that. So February 20, 2023 is supposed to be our new due date. I submitted the updated stormwater quality management report to Mike Choda. He's the MS4 coordinator, and I believe the mayor and the Board of Works are going to review that. I wanted them to all be on board with what we're showing in the stormwater quality management plan. Now, one of the requirements of the new general permit is for the city to review and update their stormwater ordinances. And that's supposed to be done by July 1st of 2024. Now, IDEM's indicated they'll be flexible on getting that done as long as there's some documentation quarterly that progress is being made. So one of the things the City Council is going to have to consider is how extensively to update the ordinances. There's the illicit discharge ordinance. I don't believe that would require too many changes. And then there's the construction and post-construction stormwater ordinances, and those might require some more changes to conform to the new general permit. And as I've worked with the old ordinances the past few years, there's a number of things that I found confusing that could use some clarification. So that's something I guess that we should start that process of getting the ordinances reviewed and updated. So the water quality monitoring, that's going to be part of the water quality characterization report. We'll kind of review what we found. We've been sampling since 2007, and we'll kind of review that. E. coli and total suspended solids are the two biggest water quality issues that we encounter. The completed combined sewer overflow mitigation project has made a big difference in the amount of overflows going to the Blue River. I looked up, Mike Cook does an annual report. So in 2020, which would have been before the project, it had just about 30 inches of rain, and there were 7 million gallons of combined sewer overflows in 2020. In 2022, after completion of the project, we had about 30 inches of rain, and there were 318,000 gallons of overflow. So it was a substantial improvement. And so we haven't seen a decline in the E. coli yet, but I'm anticipating that as the E. coli that's kind of built up in the stream bed gets washed out, that our E. coli results are going to be better. The minimum control measures that we follow, public education and outreach and public participation and involvement. Right now, those are two separate minimum control measures. In the new general permit, those are going to be combined into one minimum control measure. And one of the things they want us to do is target 3 water quality issues to 3 constituent groups. So for residents, the residential constituent group, I'm proposing to focus on pet waste, which relates to the E. coli problem. Commercial and industrial, I'm suggesting focusing on trash and litter. And again, there could be some E. coli benefits from that, but there is quite a bit of trash and litter around town, and commercial and industrial sites are a source for that. And then on construction and development, our focus will be on erosion and sediment control. The illicit discharge detection and elimination minimum control measure, we're supposed to have an updated IDDE plan submitted by July 1st of 2023. We've got a draft plan that was written in 2012, and we just need to kind of touch that up. So I don't think that'll be take too much to get that in place. And then on construction and post-construction, the Stormwater Development Manual has all the city's technical standards for stormwater management. And some of that relates to what's in the ordinances, so depending on the direction the City Council wants to take with updating the construction and post-construction ordinances, we may need to make some changes in the Stormwater Development Manual. There are some technical standards in there that I feel are insufficient, and so I'm going to propose some changes on those. And then some of the language in the manual is not very clear, so there's some clarification that needs to be done with that. And then municipal operations, I think we're in pretty good shape. There's not much new that's going to be required. One thing that the new permit requires is better documentation. So the departments are doing a good job with the things that they're doing with their operations, but we just need to make sure we've got that documented so that we can show the documentation to IDEM. And then they want us to document the fact that we're inspecting municipal facilities. So we just need to do a little better job with documenting that. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. If you have any questions about stormwater management, about the MS4 program.
So you had mentioned that some of our ordinances need to be updated.
Yes.
Who do you communicate that with? Is that something goes through you, Rosie, or the mayor, or Marsha, or to us, or? And then you guys bring it up?
Yeah, Mike's the MS4 coordinator, so I guess I would work with him. I did mention it in last year's annual report too, that the ordinances would need to be updated. And I guess I guess you're going to have to take a look at it. Maybe I can put some information out through Mike to you, things to consider before you start that process. Whether you want to keep as much of the existing ordinances as possible, or whether you want to maybe consider a more substantial revision. But
Are these changes probably changes that other communities are making in their ordinances as well?
I'm not sure how extensively other communities are going to make changes. But yeah, I think some of them are going to make more extensive changes. Purdue University has a local technical assistance program, and they've been working with a state MS4 partnership, and so they've developed a model ordinance and model technical standards, and they put those out for communities to look at and see whether they want to adopt those or adopt certain features of those. So those are available as kind of a guide to some of the changes. I believe, yeah.
I have another question for
Sure.
you that's unrelated to that. So when you were mentioning the pet waste and trash and litter and erosion and sediment control, do you have do you have a plan for the education you're going to do for the community?
Well, that's something we're going to have to look at. We do have some educational information about those things that's available, but we probably need to focus and maybe we're supposed to either have public events or public meetings each year to kind of to highlight the things that we want as far as water quality issues. One of the things in the new permit is we're supposed to offer education to contractors about erosion and sediment control, and I would look to partner with maybe some other MS4 communities to offer that education. Yeah, we'll have to have a plan to kind of do that. Again, we've got some materials available already, but we probably need to touch those up and and maybe schedule some meetings or events.
I'll contact you after the meeting, but I have a good resource for education materials on that.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? John, now, how many years have you been doing this?
I'm going on my 10th year.
And is that with the city or your overall?
Overall, but I mean, when I started with the Soil and Water Conservation District, they had the contract, so I started them both at the same time, so. Yeah.
So history-wise, it used to be city had theirs and the county had theirs?
Yeah, the county manages their stormwater separately, but as far as county projects, IDEM, when they looked at the job they were taking on as far as erosion and sediment control, plan review, and site inspection, they realized they didn't have the personnel. So they kind of deputized the soil and water conservation districts to do that on their behalf. And we get a little bit of money from them for doing that, but not very much. And so I review the county projects on behalf of IDEM. And then the city projects, because the city's in MS4, they do their own review of projects. Now, technically, I'm supposed to review any kind of municipal project. I'm supposed to put the other hat on and review that on behalf of IDEM. So.
Well, I know that you have helped and assist in many different ways from the planning commission to engineers, for the county inspections and evaluations. And so, I mean, when they say John Goetz, they all know it's quality. And so, I just wanted to pass that on to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question about the recent issue with the Ohio River. How did it impact what had to do with the river?
Yeah, there really wouldn't be any connections. So.
Okay. Anything else? All right, good, thank you.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is from Baker Tilton, and presentation on the utility rates. This is a topic that I think we talked about last year in our retreat, and probably multiple retreats, about how we continue to support the utility rates here from the city. And if you look at the chart with the right dead center, the surrounding counties, where we're at in the cost of utilities, we're right in the middle. Please identify yourself and your presentation on this.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Ryle, partner with Baker Tilly. And I also have with me Ian Stahl, who also helped put the rate study together, and again, appreciate all the help from the department heads as well. So, if you recall, sort of in past history, the approach to looking at rates or rate studies, we kind of did piecemeal. So we kind of look at, the water utility individually, and then we look at sewage, and then maybe electric and stormwater, kind of look at all those individually. And so we'd have sort of sporadic increases from one time to the next. So in talking with the mayor and Rosie, kind of the approach we thought of this time was, instead of kind of looking at it piecemeal, to really look at it holistically as one sort of overall comprehensive rate study. At the end of the day, the customers, ratepayers, what they see is what's on the total bill, right, in terms of how they're impacted financially. And so that's kind of where the focus is. So that's kind of what we wanted to do with this study, this go-around, is look at, we are looking at the utilities individually in terms of, whether those rates are adequate. But in addition to that, what we attempted to do was here to sort of put together a strategy, a comprehensive rate plan that took into account the various adjustments from the individual utilities, but also keeping in mind what the end impact is to the user, and try to sort of massage those increases in a way that, we'd be avoiding any large increases and also trying to spread those increases over time. So that was kind of the overall goal of an approach to this study here. Yes, absolutely.
Rosie, would you mind just taking a few minutes to talk about the committee, about the utility?
Yeah, the utility, here that represent the utility. And the other members here, we kind of went through the proposed rate increase, which they wanted to go back and comprehend everything because it was a lot for them to review in one night. And then the mayor asked if we could have Jeff present it to the council and if the members wanted to be here to kind of listen to it. Because they had some recommendations and changes that we had changed those things at the request of the mayor.
Yeah, and appreciate that reminder, Rosie. We did, so the report that you have now should be the most recent because we did prepare a report and then we went back based on some of the comments back and we sort of reworked some of those numbers. I think the one that sort of pops in my head was sort of reworking the capital improvement plan. I think it was for the electric, maybe water, sewer. I knew I'd get it right eventually if I kept going. Sewer report, and so we did make those modifications, which actually brings the rate increase down a little bit because we were reducing some of the capital projects. So
my intent was to make sure everybody knows that this is an effort by all. It's just not a one-person decision. Input from citizens. Obviously, your support is from your side of the house with the utility investigation, and the council is, all members as well. So it doesn't impact the members.
Yep.
So thank you for allowing me to interrupt you.
No, appreciate those words. So there should be you should have two reports. One is the detailed report, 30 some odd pages, and then this shorter version, which is an kind of our executive summary, and that's what we had planned to kind of go over with you this evening. Again, sort of hit some of the main points to it. Obviously, we can do a deeper dive into the more detailed report if there are more specific questions. So on the executive summary, just starting out from the first page and just kind of go through that. Again, we've already kind of touched on this. The purpose of the comprehensive study was, to look at all four utilities: water, sewer, wastewater, stormwater, and electric, and then look at or establish a proposed rate plan based on needs for rate adjustments. So just a little bit of history. This is on page 3. In terms of when the rates were last established or last adjusted for the stormwater utility, I believe that was back in 2009. So, we're 12, 13 years removed from the last rate adjustment. Sewage Works, I believe, was 2014. That was probably with the last project, I think, that we did with SRF. And there were some phased increases implemented as part of that, but in terms of when the ordinances were adopted, these are the dates. Water utility, I believe, was 2019, and then I believe there was an adjustment made in 2022 for utility receipts tax. And then for the electric utility, it was 2022, including the wholesale tracker, and then also the repeal of the utility receipts tax. So water utility, not too far removed from, the last rate adjustment, and obviously electric utility in terms of keeping up with wholesale power costs. Those trackers have been implemented along the way. So stormwater, sewer are some of the oldest rates in terms of adoption. So they're obviously obviously over time, there are events that sort of eat into the rates or eat into sort of the financial performance of the utilities, mainly inflation. Could be other things like projects. But there are some headwinds right now over the last couple of years. Obviously, one is inflation, with inflation being 6-7%. I know it's come down a little bit here recently, but obviously that's a driver in terms of potential need to adjust rates. Also increases in labor costs. I know another one with not just municipalities, but businesses and professional firms and what have you, having to deal with labor force and the competitive nature of the labor force, which is leading to increase in labor and labor-related costs. Obviously, supply chain issues and other things going on that have sort of also contributed to the increase in those costs. So we'll kind of get into the numbers here a little bit more, but what sort of alluded to this earlier, the proposed rate plan considers a three-phase rate adjustment, which the first phase would go into effect in 2023, the second phase in 2024, and then a third phase in 2025. So again, trying to be aware, have an awareness in terms of what the overall financial impact is to the users, trying to spread that out as far as we can over time, which also allows folks and businesses to be able to budget ahead of time for those rate increases. So in terms of the proposed rates that are reflected as part of the report and recommendation, those proposed rates would be sufficient to pay for nearly $10 million in capital investment needs for all four utilities combined over the next 5 years. Roughly $5.5 million of that are capital needs within the sewage works, about $1.8 million for the water utility, roughly $500,000 for the stormwater utility, and about $2 million for the electric utility. So obviously some capital investment needs there, which have been incorporated into the proposed rate structure. And we, at this point, have assumed that all of those capital projects are paid for with cash on hand on a pay-as-you-go basis. So we've not assumed any financing or bond issue associated with funding those projects. So on average, in terms of percentage total utility bill, the proposed rate plan is less than 4% in the total utility charges per year, so less than 4% increase per year. So kind of diving into the individual utilities, page 7, we start with the sewage works rate adjustment. And I wish I probably should have brought the presentation to show up there so everybody could see it. I apologize. But the page 7, if you have the report in front of you, kind of shows a graph that shows what the estimated, what we call revenue requirements are. That's just essentially the total estimated annual cost, which is up around $6.5 million. And we compare that to the current revenue stream generated from the current sewage works rates, which is just over $5 million. So that difference there, it represents a shortfall of about 17% existing revenues compared to the revenues that are needed to kind of cover all the costs, which would be the operation and maintenance costs. We've built in some inflationary adjustments, debt service, obviously, and also the capital improvements, $5.5 million of capital improvements that I mentioned earlier. Page 8 is a summary of the water utility. Again, for this one, this was a much smaller rate adjustment, I presume because the last rate adjustment was done in 2019. But this rate adjustment includes roughly the $2 million of capital needs, and about a 5% overall adjustment needed to the overall rates for the water utility. Then on the stormwater, again, similar to sewer, for stormwater, we're proposing an overall rate increase of 17%, again, to cover operating costs, capital project needs, and also to continue to support the payment of the debt service on the sewage works side. So back when the sewage works issued debt through the SRF, the city pledged a portion of the stormwater revenues to help pay for the sewage debt at that time in order to help sort of ease or minimize the overall rate impact on the sewer side. So that would continue for as long as the bonds are outstanding. So that is, we've assumed that will continue within the stormwater rate structure. Then on the page 10, electric utility, we're anticipating an increase of approximately overall 12% increase, and that includes sort of rolling, in terms of the proposed rate, we would recommend that we roll any existing tracker that's in place into the base rates going forward. But that 12% also includes a 9% increase in purchase power costs that's expected to go into effect in 2023. The 12% increase also covers the roughly $1.5 million in capital improvements. I'm sorry, the $2 million in capital improvements, but also assumes that we're building in some additional funds to replenish electric utility cash reserves. So over time, the utility has sort of eaten into its cash reserves, and to the tune of about $1.5 million. So as part of this rate adjustment, we've added in some working capital with the intention that as the utility collects revenue, some of that would go back into the reserves to stay in order to keep adequate reserves on hand. So that was also built into the recommended rate. Any questions so far? Okay. So just continuing on then to sort of wrap up the executive summary on page 11, that reflects the proposed rates for all four utilities, and then reflects what the estimated total utility bill would be. So current total bill, stormwater, water, sewer, electric, and this assumes assuming a user of 4,000 gallons, total bill is about $239 per month. If the city were to move forward with this three-phase rate plan, that total bill in 2023 would go up to about $245. In 2024, that would be increased again up to $257. And then finally, in 2025, the total bill would go up to about $269. So again, on average, a little bit less than 4% per year, and a little bit under $10 impact to the average residential customer. So it was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation about kind of where the city currently stands compared to other communities of similar size, and also communities around the state based on population. And page 12 reflects that data, and it looks at water, sewer, stormwater. We didn't show electric in this, include electric in this graph here. Kind of your standard water, sewer, stormwater rates. You can see that the city currently is at about $110. The low, which is the city of Angola, is down around $75. The high, Churubusco is around 154, so kind of right in that middle ground for water, sewer, stormwater rates. You know, obviously with this, if the city decides to move forward with this rate plan, you know, that would move us along that continuum up towards the sort of the higher rate levels. You know, that said, this is always a moving target, and so just kind of eyeballing these communities, I know that some of these communities are in the process of adjusting rates, so everyone's probably going to move up along with the city. Question will be kind of where, you know, where does everybody stack up at the end of the day, but so yeah, right now, you know, rates are about in that middle ground compared to other communities of similar size. In terms of electric bill comparison, page 13 reflects that comparison. So statewide average around $128. Current electric rates, this is assuming 1,000 kilowatt hours of usage, residential bill. Current rate's about $120, just under $129. And again, based on those that we sort of selected here, those rates range anywhere between, you know, down at $96 roughly per month, which is the town of Avila, and then about $161 per month, which is Duke Energy. So again, kind of right in that sort of in that middle ground area. Okay, so that concludes the summary. I don't believe we're looking for any action tonight. This is kind of an opportunity to present this to the group and to the public. But be happy to answer any questions you have or take any comments on the results.
Just a comment. I was just thinking it's better than I thought it was going to be. I would have expected it to be more work with the cost of everything going up for us. I keep buying material and keep going outside. I tell people that people are really talking to me, and it's better than I thought. It's never good, but it's still better than I thought it was going to be. When we first started watching it. Many increases are never good, but at the same time, we've got to maintain service for our people. And I think we've got some great people looking things over for us, and really appreciate all the work we did put into this. And then, you know, also really good that there are superintendents coming and talking as well. So I really appreciate, you know, this ability and the people that are looking over are keeping us straight too. So I really appreciate everybody that's working hard on this. So it's just, like you say, it's better than I thought, but thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Jeff?
We are going to be meeting again with the utility advisory board, and now that we've got some different figures here and there, what they usually do will kind of give them recommendations on the council, how they feel about it, and then we will see from there.
You said, what I remember was like, you had 17% increase in other 17% below. But then you also said 5%, was that directly in addition? So 17% on the water,
Yep. So to clarify, so for the sewage works, we're proposing overall 17% increase in the rates. For the water utility, an overall increase of 5%. For stormwater, 17%, and for electric, 12%. And if you kind of add all those up together as a sort of an overall comprehensive bill, that would come out to, again, less than 4% of the total bill, so less than 4% increase per year, and less than just under $10 per year increase.
Any other questions for Jeff? Again, Jeff, thank you for your time, and study details, obviously, there's facts and lots of data, and so that helps make people decisions, not the decisions on things they want to make, but we know that we got to look for the future and make sure people will understand, explain stuff. Anything, Rosie? Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And I would just add, as the rate committee meets again, if questions come up, or, any other changes you want to see us run, just let us know. I'd be happy to do that. So.
Just a quick question for you. So you reviewed a three-step approach. Is there any merit to a two-step approach? Or?
Yeah, it's really just it really comes down to a policy decision on, how quickly or how long do you want to take to sort of roll the increases out. Certainly you could accelerate it and consider 2 years. That would obviously result in, slightly higher rate impact per phase in order to get to where we need to get to. But certainly you could consider anywhere between 1 and 3 years. I'd hesitate going beyond 3 years because then a lot of the information gets stale and things happen. But I think anywhere between a 1 and 3 year period is kind of a good rule of thumb.
And plus, that gives people, like you said, time to prepare for the next 2 years to support that.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, thank you. All right. Appreciate it.
Okay. Department reports. Chip.
Yes, one second.
I have nothing. But
No, I do. So just for an update, we did in January interviews, brought in several firms and interviewed for a downtown revitalization plan. We awarded the contract, which we haven't got. We awarded to move forward with the contract to HWC engineering firm, and we're waiting the contract for that. So we're hoping April, May, we'll start the plan for revitalizing downtown. Other than that, I have nothing else.
Okay. Any questions? Chip? Garrett?
SOS finished installation of the free public Wi-Fi at the MSF, and that's working well. They're now in the process of ordering equipment to move to the water department and install it there. That's what I
Okay. Questions for Garrett? Sean?
Yeah, so we were able to hook permanent power up to the Community Foundation building. A lot of you have probably seen that building going up. Power has been installed, so they should be coming right along with that building. It's an enormous building, so it's going to be a nice building for them. We also installed banners along 205. I think they look really nice. That's a program that the mayor started, and I believe actually it helped as well. But we did get those installed. We are looking at Main Street at the new poles we put on Main Street there. We are able to hang some banners on those poles as well, so there may be a new banner program coming to the city very soon. We met with Kent Power this week and last week, I guess, both. That new substation project approved back in 2019 is finally kicking off. We transferred all the load off of our north substation today and are prepared to de-energize that this week. So we'll keep the entire city off of 2 substations instead of 3 right now, which is an uneasy feeling, but it's made necessary by this construction project. They're going to have the actual line construction done in 2 to 3 weeks. The substation construction is hopefully finished the first week of June. So we'll keep you updated on that project. We did approve a new program and Board of Works today for the GeneraLink transfer switch. It's basically a transfer switch that you can install at the meter base. So if we have a power outage that we need to, get your refrigerators and freezers up and going, simple cord plugs into it from your generator. It's a really good program. I'll be unveiling that in the next few weeks on our website. So anyone interested in that can go there for that information again, hopefully by next week. Other than that, just kind of daily tasks and trying to keep up with, we got really good weather in the last couple of weeks, but it's made it hard to do any digging, so it's getting muddy out there, so we're gonna keep trying to mud some of these projects in.
Okay. Any questions for Sean? Mike?
We've had 3 leaks that we haven't reported. We did a 160-foot culvert on West Business 30, and then we're having Friday we're having a insert valve installed on West Ellsworth Street down there where the new asphalt is, so we can take care of that water But that will keep it so that we can feed the old Miller's Mary Manor 2 directions if we ever have. They shut one side down or not. We can keep it in water.
Good. Any questions for Mike? Mike?
Do 2 reports every year onto Steel Dynamics for maintenance on their fourth main, and then do another annual report that goes to the EPA, and that's for the amount of flooding we produce. So the reports are completed and submitted to both entities. We almost completed our 2022 skate upgrade on 11 stations, and had supply chain issues on some of the power supplies, so it took a little bit to get those in, but we've got 2 of those to go yet. A big thanks to the electric department for rotating the antennas. They had to be rotated 90 degrees with the new PLC equipment that was put in. The staff had pulled we had ventilation fans in our members put in that stopped working, and the town for wires when they pulled those through. So they pulled new wires from one building to another, got those back online. And then they tore apart one of our grip separators today, and then it's motors in for the shaft and keep it day to day.
Mike? Any questions?
Yeah, Mike, because you brought up the SDI, how are they doing with they're hitting the targets that they had projected a few years ago for the force main line that we ran out there?
They are running probably between 350, 375,000. They have not hit their amounts.
I mean, because they're back to what, was it 500?
About 500,000. Yeah, that's what we go for is 500,000 and use our funding capacity to get it.
Nothing else? Okay. Go ahead, Cal.
Yeah, we've had a crew in Columbus Shores area with our sewer televising equipment and our sewer cleaning machine. Our goal is to try to get that whole area televised this year and clean. We had some issues with the jet machine. We had a bearing go out for real, and then we had some travel issues that we're going to have to take that truck down to Whitestone and have a meeting to work on that. So hopefully it's not down too long and we can get back to that. Mike's truck on standby for all we can come up with. Other than that, just do routine maintenance, sweeping, pads and things like that. And have the contractor be coming in the end of this month or next month to do leaf grind at the back of Munch's Park. Get those ground up and then be available for the public.
Kelly, could you just shortly give a brief description of what do you gain by the fiber optic equipment? Because we have some guests that are here with us tonight, and they hear fiber optic, but maybe they don't know how positive it is for the street department. So.
Well, we're cleaning. You're talking about the report that Columbus Shores?
Well, just in general, so they know why we have the machine and what it does for you.
Okay. It's a televising. It's a crawler that goes inside the sewer lines and basically can drive it up through there like with a PlayStation controller and video inside the lines to see if there's roots or debris or pipe broke down or whatever. So we can do pipe runs and reports on that, save the data. It gets put on our server, and then our GIS guy pulls it off the server and puts our maps together, has sewer tap locations on there that end up being helpful for contractors and the future or homeowners that want to know where the service lines connect to the sewer mains.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions for Kelly? Gary?
We've been busy the last couple of days doing formal interviews for police candidates. We interviewed 6 people, and for our officer Kelly's position, since we've opened the process, we've had Officer Stamper resign, and we wanted to take county. Our last day was February 6th, and Officer Stevenson retired, and his last day was February 8th, so it's still undetermined if we're going to get enough people out of that process to fill those slots, or if we'll have to open up another process, so that's a possibility in the future. Road guys have been stepping up and help fill the shift coverage, so that's been a real big help for that. We got 2 guys down at the academy that are in their 6th week at the academy, and they are to return mid-April, so looking forward to them getting back and helping. So other than that, as far as police go, we're just day-to-day operations, and things are running smooth in this place.
Any questions for Gary? Tom?
As I reported last meeting, new mechanic found a few things on 101, an oil leak and coolant leaks. We got the parts in, that's good news, but from supply chain issues that have been known to happen nationwide, so he's going to schedule that sometime first of like next week or the week after, maybe down for a couple of days while he makes the repairs. We sent our entire full-time crew and 2 batches down to Indianapolis. There was a company there that did a full fire suppression class for everybody. They volunteered to do that for us. That's what they specialize in, of course, in fire, and they offered that to us for free, so that was really nice of them. Other than that, things are going well. Training is still a big issue, and in wintertime, a lot of guys was cold outside and not outside. Focus attention inside and get things cleaned up and go through everything just to make sure that we use some house food. So it's kind of nice to be able to get things cleaned up inside.
Okay. Questions for Tom? Rosie?
Just remember to keep it next weekend.
Okay. Is Marcia still with us?
Yes.
Okay, Marcia. Dan?
Jennifer?
Yeah.
I have a couple of things. First of all, the Arts Commission met last week, and currently we have a couple of logo possibilities posted on our Facebook page, and we're inviting the community to kind of weigh in on that and see if that kind of represents the arts in the community. We are looking currently at grant funding options that are available to offset the cost of things we want to do. And at our next meeting, which is on the first Tuesday in March from 5 to 6 p.m., we will be brainstorming specific arts-oriented projects that we are going to do in the next year and in the next 2 years. This is a public meeting, of course, so people are welcome to attend if they would like to weigh in on this.
You've traveled the last couple of days in Indiana, and we see that in the ice sculpting. So that's something that's on your list.
That could be a possibility.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, we're going to hang up in our own room and brainstorm our ideas and vote to try to narrow it down a little bit so that we can have a cohesive throughout. We have already quite a few ideas of what to do. So.
Yeah?
We had redevelopment earlier today. The Alamo site is all the studies and testing has come back pretty positive, so they're trying to fast track that for approval so we can open that property up for development. And we're still waiting with the property there at Jackson and Line Street is open for proposals right now. And we don't have any right at this point, right, Chip? Well, no. So those are the two properties we're working on to develop at this moment. So.
What is that zone there, the old element?
Commercial. We have to wait for until we get approval to open it up, but they have one more quarter of testing, but they're going to try to fast track it through, so they want to wait the next 6 months to open it up for bidding and share opportunities. Good. Danny?
The solid waste board district actually has a director position open right now. We're looking for candidates. For that, if you're interested in applying, you can go to the Boone County government page or the EDC website.
Anything else? Anything from the audience? Yes. This is state your name.
Yep. Melanie Love, 113 East Market Street. It's late and I don't want to keep everybody, but I just want to remind you guys that chickens are important and eggs are still ridiculously expensive. They're expected to get to $10 for a dozen by next August. And if in case you're wondering, that's pretty much the same price it is to buy a dozen Cadbury eggs, which is ridiculous. Like, this should not be comparable. It's ridiculously overpriced chocolate on Valentine's Day versus a staple food that is used in so many different things. If we had done something about this months or years ago, it wouldn't be such a big issue right now. And I'm just really concerned because it's going to continue to be an issue. And people need the ability to not have to depend on a grocery store just to get eggs. So, that's all I had.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from the audience? If there's nothing else to come forth,